Good morning. It's Bryn here. It's a pleasure to meet you. I got some coffee right here. I have eaten actual food. If you haven't eaten or drunk today, then please do so whenever you're able, especially plenty of water. I have a big thing of tea flavored water that I'm about halfway through right now. So I got about 2 more of those bottles to go. Oh, that's good. I love caffeine. Slight headache. Okay. So this is my new hair. I am gonna have to touch up the roots because I messed it up a little bit, but I think it looks really cool. I think it looks nice. So today's topic is going to be a heavy one. So I'm gonna go ahead and give a trigger warning. Hi, Jasmine. Thank you. Um, I am gonna go ahead and give a trigger warning. In today's topic stream, we are going to be talking about TERFs, SWERFs, transmedicalists, and how I stopped being a Nazi. So, some of you may not know that I used to be a Nazi. I'm very vocal about it on my server. Oh, by the way, I'm practicing out my new voice. Hi, my name is Bryn. So that's fun. So I'm going to be coughing a lot throughout this. Fun, fun, fun. Another reason why I got plenty of fluids. One sec. But yeah, those who aren't on my server may not know this, but I used to be a Nazi. And I don't mean neo-Nazi, because I don't believe in neo-Nazis. You can call them neo-Nazis to try and separate them from being Nazis. It doesn't change the fact that they're Nazis. And that is what I was. And it took a lot of time to get out of that and to escape that. And I feel, well, not feel, I see a lot of parallels between what I felt and believed whenever I was a Nazi and what I see TERFs, SWERFs, and transmedicalists going through. And I feel for them. So that's one of the reasons why I'm bringing this up, because I am going to be referencing my life as a Nazi. So first up, let's set the terms. A TERF is a trans-exclusionary radical feminist. A SWERF is a sex worker exclusionary radical feminist. A transmedicalist is a individual, usually trans, so they don't have to be, who believes that being transgender is dependent upon a set of criteria that can only be adequately measured and determined by medical professionals, such as their definition of dysphoria, the want and need for a sexual reassignment operation, and a few other things. So, I'm going to go ahead and launch into transmedicalist, aka true scum ideology. And the reason why is because I have kind of a personal bent against them. So, the reason why, I used to be a transmedicalist before I was trans. Because before I came out as trans, Abby, my life partner, was trans. And so I took up transmedicalist ideology because after he came out as trans, I wanted to better understand him. And everything I was looking at online and everything like that at the time, I was being redirected to transmedicalist stuff. And so I began to see their points and believe them. But in doing so, that actually kept me from pursuing my own transition until nearly 10 years later. And I have missed so much time because I thought I couldn't be trans. I don't mind what's in my pants. I could live with that forever. I don't need sexual reassignment surgery. If I got it, Cool. That'd be awesome. I'd love it. But, like, I'm okay one way or the other, and that money I'd rather spend going on a trip to Ireland. Whereas Abby, he has to have that. So, looking at transmedicalist ideology and comparing myself to him and comparing myself to other transgender individuals. Hey, Robin. It made me feel very, very much like I can't be trans. I don't have the dysphoria. I don't need bottom surgery, all this other stuff. There has to be something else wrong with me. And there isn't. Ironically, it was actually Abby himself who was like, no, to heck with that. You don't need this stuff to be trans. You just need to be happy. So whenever I started questioning myself, whenever I started first coming out and being like, hey, maybe I am a girl. Do I need this or that? Can I do this or that? Can this happen? What about this and this? I actually got a lot of negative pushback from trans medicalists. I got doxxed, harassed significantly. There are actually entire posts about me on r/Truscombe, though they tried not to use my name or anything, but like the individual in question linked directly back to my account and was talking about how I'm a trender, how I'm doing all this other stuff, how I'm going to hurt the community, and just so much other stuff, and it was so stupid. And like it caused me a lot of pain. It was almost enough for me to go back in the closet and be like, you know what? Never mind. I don't need this. I'll be fine. Like I have been fine. Sure, I won't be great. I won't be ecstatic and happy and euphoric and all this other stuff. But I'll be okay. And I'm thankful I had Abby there. Because Abby was like, no. And I'm about to curse, okay? No. Fuck that. You deserve more than just being okay. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to be you, however that may be. So, thankfully, I had him in my life, and I was able to pursue and begin my transition. So, what exactly is transmedicalism, and why is it bad? So, first off, they believe that you have to have dysphoria to be trans, but the problem with this belief is that there is a very large disconnect between dysphoria as it is defined medically and dysphoria as it is treated in the transgender community. So I'm going to go ahead. I should have already had this pulled up, but I'm going to pull up the definition of dysphoria as it is defined medically. A state of unease or generalized dissatisfaction with life. Now, the thing about that is such a broad and such a general, definition. Hi Quetzal, hi Gray. Thank you very much for complimenting my hair. I like it greatly. It's purple on one side, pink on the other, and then it's blended in the back. I still gotta touch up my roots, so that'll be something that I'm doing later tonight. So yeah, that term, medically speaking, is incredibly broad, incredibly generalized. So it can basically mean anything. But then the way we use it in the transgender community is very different. It's a feeling of very intense negativity. Like, before I was trans, I didn't feel anything I would consider to be dysphoria the way the transgender community sees it, especially not dysphoria as how transmedicalists view it. But now that I've started transition, I have a lot of body hair I'm having to work to get rid of. I have voice issues. I'm still practicing my voice. This still, in my opinion, doesn't sound as feminine as it should be. So I have a lot of voice dysphoria, and I'm always afraid that it doesn't sound feminine enough. And I'm constantly afraid of not passing, like I'm not walking correctly, or I don't look right, or my boobs aren't centered right, or something something stupid, right? And it is intense. It is deep. It is like a sharp pain twisting in my soul. That's very different from the way it's seen medically. So, why do I have an issue with this? Well, that's because the transmedicalist community uses it as a form of gatekeeping. They can set the standard for what is and isn't considered by them to be dysphoric. So, for instance, you could be apathetic, and so long as they agree with you, they could be like, yeah, that's dysphoria, totally. But you could be apathetic and be more, yeah, that's a mood. But you could be apathetic and be gender non-binary, and they'd be like, oh, you're just a trender. You know, it's not deep enough, it's not painful enough. And that's what I find very toxic about the community. Not only are they constantly willing to move the goalposts to validate those that they want to validate, whoever, validates their own ideas and opinions are the ones that deserve validation, but anyone else does not. But in addition to that, it's almost like a cult of pain. Like, for instance, one of the people that actually did come after me whenever I first started questioning was an individual that was basically interrogating me, trying to figure out if I had ever attempted suicide, if I had ever self-harmed, if I had ever done any of this other stuff. Thank you, Quetzal. Robin, Quetzal, I love you both so much. But I was interrogated by this individual because they were constantly trying to find a reason to invalidate me. And they went down a long, long, long way. I had to make an entirely new Reddit account because they were going down years to find super alt posts and be like, see, they said they don't really feel like a human, they feel more like a robot. They're clearly not trans, they're just a trender with some other mental illness. And it's like, no, I'm not a trender. Do you know how difficult this is? This is hard as hell. I'm not doing this out of a trend, I'm doing this because being a girl makes me happier than being a guy. Period. I would rather, if all things considered, if I could have the same life up till now, other than how I was raised and treated and everything, and I was put into a black void and no one would ever know, but I got to make my own body and everything, I would make myself a girl. It's that simple. It's that easy. Period, queen. What do you mean? Michael, what do you mean by period, queen? uh, um, but yeah, this individual was going back a very long way to find things that they could invalidate me using. And they were trying to be like, you're not in enough pain to really be trans. You're not like me. I've tried suicide so many times. I've tried suicide earlier today. Actually, being trans is nothing but pain and hatred and all this other stuff. It's like, no, it's not. It doesn't have to be. It shouldn't be. Thank you, Michael. Okay. That's totally different than what I thought you were meaning. Thank you. Um uh but yeah, it's Pain Olympics basically. That's how I'm phrasing it. And I stole it from the internet, but I don't remember where. So, if you're the inventor of Pain Olympics, let me know and I'll credit you. But yeah, it was weird and bizarre. Yes, as transgender individuals, we experience a lot of dysphoria. I truly honestly believe that a lot of this is due to society. And that is another thing, which is why I prefer the using of euphoria over dysphoria for diagnosing transgenderness. And I am a medical worker. I have had transgender patients, okay? And something I've noticed whenever I'm interacting with my transgender patients is simply taking a moment to humanize them, to ask them their name, their pronouns, and to put a valid effort into that, to assure them that I will make sure that all the nurses and everyone that interacts with them uses the proper names and pronouns. That goes a long way towards helping them. I used to do patient sitting, where I would sit with mentally ill patients, patients who had attempted to harm themselves, who were going through a bad place mentally and needed protection, stuff like that. I'm gonna get a sip. And one of my patients at the time that I was patient sitting for was a young transgender individual who had attempted suicide. And we were holding him in the ER overnight until we could get him transferred to a mental health facility. That way he could get better taken care of. And there was a huge difference between whenever I started my shift and ended my shift. Because whenever I started my shift and I was sitting with him, he was apathetic. He didn't give a crap about anything. He just wanted to sit there and stare at the wall. But my thing is, and I've gotten in trouble for this because it's technically against some of the protocol, but I like to go into the room and introduce myself and talk to the patient. Now, if they don't want to talk or if it's dangerous, of course I won't do that. But I walked into the room and I introduced myself. And I asked for his name and pronouns. It wasn't marked on his sheet that he was trans. It wasn't marked on any of this other stuff that he was trans, but I asked anyway, just in case, because I noticed some similarities between him and some other transgender individuals I knew in the way that he carried himself and spoke about himself and stuff. And he told me, oh, this is the name that I wish I had. I wish I could be a boy, but I'm not. I was like, okay, well, it's a pleasure to meet you, sir. And then I went and I sat down and I just observed like I'm supposed to. And he came to me. He started talking to me. He started opening up. There was such a huge difference in the way that he was interacting with me versus how he had been interacting with the nurse that one of the nurses noticed, and the hospital psychologist actually came down to talk to me and be like, hey, what all did he say? Can you, what happened? And I had to explain to him that all I did was ask for name and pronouns. There is a huge difference between accepting versus unaccepting. My parents don't accept me being trans, and I hardly spend any time with them. They chalk it up to just me being a loner and me not wanting to be around anyone, stuff like that. Which, to be fair, I am a little bit of a loner. But then you have other people in my family that are accepting of me, and I am actively trying to make time in my already very busy life to go and spend time with them, to get to know them, to let them get to know me. It's not about me just being a loner. It's about acceptance. The water will always take the path of least resistance. So if you're going to go and offer resistance to a transgender individual and try and gatekeep them, they're going to go by whatever path is easiest. For some, that's like me, and it's refusal. It's saying, no, I am trans. You don't get to dictate if I'm trans or not. But for some others, it's worse. For some individuals, the path of least resistance is something a lot darker. And that is why I have a problem with trans medicalists. I am in the medical field. I know how dark it can get in the medical field. We should not be the ones to be dictating if an individual is transgender or not, because it is not a health issue. There is nothing mentally wrong with being transgender. There is nothing mentally wrong with being you. Now, being trans may bring other side effects, such as depression, anxiety, and whatnot. And a lot of these side effects may be increased, decreased, or otherwise affected by your upbringing. I fully believe if we lived in a society in which transgender individuals were simply seen as another type of individual, nothing special, nothing intense, nothing, oh, dark, oh no, the filthy, evil trannies are coming to take my poor child, oh no. And it was just like, oh, hey, check it out. My son, or my daughter wants to be my son. Okay, cool. Yo, I got an plan today. You want to go to the mall and, buy you some new clothes? Heck yeah, let's freaking go. And while we're out, let's get some lunch. Let's talk. Let's communicate. Let's do some one-on-one. That would go a long way to getting rid of that depression and that anxiety and, a lot of other stuff. I don't think that being trans is something that needs to be in the hands of medical professionals, especially because I've seen the way doctors can treat people. I am totally down to steal a gender. I beat up a TERF and stole my gender from her. That's how that works. Now she's a guy. Um, so yeah, we should not be in charge of dictating who and who is not transgender, especially because there are plenty of doctors who are just not great people, who would be more than willing to be like, well, you're not trans, you're just messed up. So instead of trying to help you get any kind of gender affirmation or anything like that, you get to go on a ton of medications and go into a mental health facility because you keep trying to harm yourself. And too bad, so sad, get over it. That's awesome, Robin. I love that. Gonna take another drink of my coffee. It's just it's got I have a blister in my mouth and it sucks. I was eating the other day and I took out a huge yeah. Like so weird. Uh I was eating the other day and I bit off a huge piece of my inside cheek. Like it was big, right? Like big. I'm not gonna describe it because it's gross, but yeah. So yeah, it's still healing and it like stings a little bit. All I'm drinking is like black coffee with a little bit of almond milk and well, I chewed it for a minute before I realized what it was. Cause like it was ow, dang it, that hurts. What in the world? Oh, ew. So that's how that went. But yeah, it's just black coffee with a little bit of almond milk and then like a teaspoon or two of sugar. Um, but yeah, medical professionals, we should not be in charge of dictating who and who is not trans because we do not have a lot of the proper context for that. In addition to that, there's a lot of things that can get in the way, and I've seen the way that a lot of doctors will treat people. For instance, if you're a woman and you come in, you have a much higher chance of being sent home and not receiving the care you need. Double so if you're a black woman. Hispanic women are often seen as troublemakers, and if you can't speak English, then a lot of time you're just kind of overlooked. Like, yeah, we'll take care of you, but at the same time, we won't give you near the same amount of care as you would otherwise receive, and that's terrible. We have a lot of problems in the medical facility, or in the medical field. I'm happy that my facility is better than a lot of others, and that my coworkers are a lot more progressive. But we still have our we still have our turds amongst the diamonds, okay? We still have people that are terrible. I had to get onto, well, I'm not going to say who or what rank they are, but there was a coworker that I got upset with the other day because they used a racial slur in response to a patient that could not speak English. And I take offense at that very, very greatly. Yes, Gray, biting out a piece of your mouth is bad for your health, especially whenever you like to drink coffee and it makes it sting. But yeah, we should not be in charge of that. And being transgender should not be seen as a mental illness any more than being a homosexual is. Now, what the transmedicalist and transgender community is going through right now is very, very similar to what has been gone through by the rest of the LGB spectrum. Some of the people here may not know, but before I went to medical field, I wanted to be a history professor. I love history. It was easily the best, like my best thing in school, to the point where like as a senior, I was taking a college level history course instead of my regular senior history. Which was fantastic. I just got to sit in a computer lab and do it on my own. It was great. I did it in a month. And then I got bored and I just got to sit in there and play video games the rest of the year. So I basically had a free period. Um, but like, we're going through something very similar to the rest of the LGB spectrum, where we are starting to be understood, but there are still some of those who are trying to pull us back. So for the homosexual community, you have the gold star lesbians and gold star gay men. Um, Basically, these are individuals, and again, the goalposts move, but overall, they believe that you can't. And he's just a dude. Like, whatever we do in our bedroom is our own, and then on top of that, like, he's just clearly a whole freaking guy. Oh no, is my stream lagging? That's not great. I was having some internet difficulties last night and tonight. I am hoping that that is not the case currently. Oof. Hmm. Michael, is there... Oh, well, that's good. Cool. But yeah, in the... Gotcha. Right, man is man. But in the homosexual community, there are gold star lesbians and gay men. So they are treated like they're better than other people, and they will, like, literally go out of their way to be like, yes, I've never had sex or romantic feelings towards the opposite gender. Look at how great I am. I'm so much more gay than you. And it's like, will you sit down and have some tea, sis? Because I'm sipping a lot of tea while looking at you right now. Damn. Um, but then in addition to that, they have a lot of goalposts. For instance, amongst the gold star homosexuals, you'll also find individuals who think that you can't really be a gold star homosexual unless you've also known you were gay from like a super young age. Like, yes, I knew I was gay since I was 2 years old. I'm so smart and so sophisticated. It's like, whatever. That is weird. I don't know why that is. My apologies for the, everything. Well, according to my stuff, my performance seems okay. That's weird. I don't know why it's doing that. I'm still working to better understand all of the software stuff. I am a boomer. I am grateful to both Michael and Jasmine for helping me out with all of this. They've been a huge help. Um, so yeah, it's gatekeeping. And the gold star gays and lesbians, they're kind of dying out. Not as in, like, they're gone, but as in the rest of the community is like, oh my god, will you please shut up? We get it, we get it. You're gayer than me, whatever. Can we go have brunch now? See you, Robin. You're awesome. But yeah, they're starting to be seen as, oh, they're just kind of troublesome, and they're a lot more effort than they're worth to be around. And trans medicalists are being viewed in the same way. Whenever I first started looking into transgender stuff, whenever Abby came out as trans, there was so much more trans medicalist stuff than there was any other trans stuff at the time. Especially on the platforms I was on, which was 4chan and Reddit. Yay! 4chan is just a trash pile. Don't go there. It's terrible. So yeah, but now I've noticed that the amount of trans medicalists out there is significantly lower, and it's dwindling, and they're constantly being rebuffed and pushed back, especially now that transgender individuals are being treated with a lot more dignity, a lot more patience, and a lot more humanity. So yeah, give it time. They are, significantly reducing in numbers, and I will personally never allow them inside of my server. Willingly. If they come in and they start spouting trans medicalist stuff, I'll kick them out. The mods and I had an individual that tried to join, and I don't remember how long they were in, but it was maybe a few hours, and they started spouting some transmed stuff, and we're like, look, first warning, you don't want to do this. They're like, yeah, well, too bad. I'm a real trans. None of y'all are real. I'm not going to stop telling the truth and all this other stuff. Y'all are just trying to keep me silenced. And it's like, okay, man, bye. It's like, I'm not gonna fight you. You want to do that stuff? Do it on your own server. Oh, that's so bitter and so good. I love it. Mm-mm-mm. Okay. So, yeah. People are starting to call out their BS, and that's good. So, I've talked a lot about trans medicalists, and now I'm going to move on to TERFs and SWERFs, and we're going to talk about them a little bit, and why they are detrimental to the feminist movement, and why they are a tool of the patriarchy, not in opposition to it. And then after I've talked about that, I'm going to talk about why these groups exist, and basically how to push back against them. So, a TERF and a SWERF. TERF is, again, reiterating, a trans exclusionary radical feminist, whereas a SWERF is a sex worker exclusionary radical feminist. So feminism, in my belief, isn't about, oh, women are better, women need to be on top, women need to rule the world. That's BS. Women don't want to rule the world. We want to be equal. We just... we want to be paid the same amount as men. We want to be taken seriously like men are. We want, this other stuff. So for trans exclusionary radical feminists, on average, their belief system is as follows: that how do they phrase it? The transgender ideology, which they view it as an ideology of sorts, which it's not. Anyone who comes onto my server can clearly see this isn't an ideology outside of, oh, we all deserve love, respect, and patience. We're all very, very different individuals with a lot of different viewpoints. I mean, heck. Okay, see ya, Quetzal. You're awesome. Thank you for stopping by. I mean, heck, just Michael and I are, really different individuals with a lot of different viewpoints. Um, Same for me and my mods, you know? And I love having mods that have different viewpoints. I have mods that disagree with me, and we can sit there and we can talk about stuff, you know, respectfully and lovingly and patiently with each other. And it's awesome. It's helped keep the server on track, and I am so, so thankful for them. Um, but yeah, they think that transgender ideology is being pushed by the patriarchy in order to trans the children. And that's stupid. They have a lot of different reasons for, why this is. For instance, they think that transgender women are trying, and yes, I'm just in my pajamas. It's Topic Tuesday. I'm not going to get all dressed up for this. I hope to do all the other Topic Tuesday in my pajamas with a semi-messy room while talking about super heavy topics. Um, but yeah, in general, they believe that transgender men, that is to say, female to male individuals, right? I hate that. I'm going to do a whole thing about please think of the children. Actually, there's a really good video on that I'm going to link in the server. Sorry, excuse me. Lung issues. I have underdeveloped lungs. They are 2/3 the size they should be. Fun. Okay, so, yeah, on general, they believe that transgender men aren't really men. They're just women that have been led astray and have been tricked into giving up their femininity. That way they'll be easier to control, use, fetishized, etc. Basically as a way for men to explore their homosexual urges without, oh, I'm gay, which is really stupid. And then they believe that transgender women, that is to say male to female individuals such as myself, aren't really women, that instead we are simply men dressing up and trying to pass ourselves off as women so that we can gain access to women's spaces and prey on women easier and basically fetishize being a woman. Which, let's be real here. Sure, I fetishize myself, but you're not in my bedroom, Becky. So, just let me pee in peace, leave me the heck alone, and get that gaudy ass purse out of my face. Okay? Bye, sis. Let me take a sip of my tea. Or, well, coffee. I purposely slurped. I'm sorry if anyone has like a trigger against like slurping or anything. So yeah, which that's just incredibly stupid. Like, one, you're claiming to be feminist. You're claiming to believe in the true and honest equality of the physical sexes. Okay? Which, if you believe that, you can't then write off trans men because you're viewing these trans men as women, which is one, infantilizing them. But then you're also viewing them as, oh, they're so weak and stupid and oh, they're being taken advantage of. And it's like, have you spoken to them? Have you talked to them? How do you know they're being taken advantage of? Abby, he is asexual, aromantic. Never wants to have sex. Never gonna be pressured into it. If anyone pressures him into it, I'm gonna fucking punch him. Crap, I don't have my dumbbells in here. I got 25-pound dumbbells. I work out, I may not look it, but I weigh like 205, 210. I'll punch someone out before I let them pressure him into anything. Okay? And the reason I'm saying I will is because he's a lot more dangerous than me and he can make acid and, he's got it. I'm doing them a favor by punching them out before he has a chance to go at them because he is a lot stronger in everything than I am, okay? Like, he isn't being pressured into anything. He isn't being fetishized. He's just a dude. Like, that's all he is. Okay, see you, Gray. It was awesome having you here, and thank you for stopping by. Oh, send me pictures of what you eat for breakfast. But yeah, you can't just go around and infantilize, trans men like that. If you do honestly view them as women, and you're going around and viewing them as, oh, poor women that are being taken advantage of, you're fighting against feminism straight out. Because you're viewing women as de facto the weaker and dumber of the sexes. And we're not. Or, well, okay, if any TERFs are watching this, let me go ahead and pretend for a second that I'm a guy. Oh, you're not. That's not how women work. Period. On the other side of the spectrum, individuals like me, male to female individuals, you're trying to get laws put in place to keep us out of the bathroom, but you're not thinking about the broader implications of that. You're also not thinking about the implications of calling all of us sexual predators. All I want to do is go pee, okay? I'm not trying to get into your bathroom to spy on you, Becky. If I wanted to see that kind of stuff, I'd go to a porn website where people upload that stuff, themselves for free. There are plenty of fetish websites out there, okay? And plenty of people that want to show themselves off doing weird and stupid things, okay? No offense to anyone that has that kind of fetish. I'm not going to sit here and kink shame. But yeah, there's plenty of consenting individuals I can get this from online. I don't need your bathroom, Becky. And sorry to anyone named Becky, okay? I'm just tired of saying Karen, so I'm going with Becky. But by viewing all of us as some kind of inherent sexual predator, you're putting all of us in this situation where you're seeing all men as sexual predators inherently. You're setting your sons up to be something they're not, and it is damaging. I am not a guy, but something that greatly upset me a lot growing up and thinking that I was a guy was how people would say things like all men are monsters, all men are evil, all men are sexual predators, all this other stuff. And I know, not all men, blah, blah, blah. I know not all men is implied. Duh. But speaking as someone who was raised to be a guy, it does get to you. I remember feeling a lot of pressure and depression because of my sex and because of the way guys were viewed. And I know how out of my way I went to avoid giving people any kind of negative impression. An example, I was walking along the sidewalk one night, and I live in the city, and there was a woman that got on the sidewalk in front of me. And I walk pretty fast, and I was catching up to her really quickly. And I felt, bad about that because she looked back a couple of times and I saw her speed up. And I started thinking to myself, crap, she probably thinks I am some kind of rapist. She probably thinks I'm some kind of other thing. What should I do? Because there's no real good thing for me to do. I can't, speed up and jog past her because she's going to think I'm chasing her. I can't cross the street because there's no other sidewalk on the other side. Plus, this is basically a highway with cars going, every couple seconds. I also gotta get home because it's dangerous in this part of the city, so I can't just stop and wait. I was put into a very dangerous situation where no matter what I did, I was going to make this other individual feel unsafe and uncomfortable. And I didn't want to do that to her because I don't want to do that to anyone, period. And it sucked and it made me feel terrible. What I actually ended up doing is the next time I came across like a little area where I could like duck in, I think it was like a bus stop. I just kind of sat down, got on my phone, and I just kind of like waited because, hey, there's a lamp there and there's a lot of traffic coming right here. I can just wait here for a few minutes and let her get way ahead. I lost time that day, and that's terrible. But all men get lumped in like this, and it feels terrible because there are crappy men. Like really, really crappy men out there. And we need to start holding them accountable. Not just women, not just, people who get assaulted, but everyone, guys included. And I'm happy to say that the newer generation is holding men accountable to a much higher standard. You know, I've seen guys that were like 17, 16, hanging out with friends, and one of their friends says something that's kind of sexist or something, and the other guys will be like, hey, no, don't do that. That's gross. Why would you say that? And that makes me feel a lot of pride. Like, hey, you're awesome, next generation. You're doing good. Thank you. Right? That's really cool. But at the same time, you know, I've been there. I know how depressing it can get. And that kind of thing bleeds into the toxic masculinity mindset. Because, one, it does to guys, okay, especially to toxic guys, which I used to be. Okay, again, back whenever I was like 13, 14, I was a Nazi. I was a terrible person. It pushes you further down the hole. Like, I remember hearing people say that, and I would use it as a lot of fuel for my anti-feminism stuff, and it was terrible. And a lot of guys use it that way, and I've seen it used that way, especially in like the changing rooms and stuff, and it's so terrible. And we need to start holding guys a lot more accountable without trying to generalize all of them. You know, you shouldn't get praised for doing basic everyday things that's expected of everyone, but at the same time, you shouldn't lump everyone in together. I got way off topic and went on a crazy tangent. But yeah, basically, if you don't want women to be lumped together, you shouldn't be lumping men together either, okay? So by saying that all trans women are just men that are trying to prey on women, you're infantilizing us, and you're putting us in a box where we don't really have any other option than to either fit into your stereotype or not really be trans. Which, I mean, I know you don't consider us trans anyway, but you know, whatever. All I want to do is pee. So, they think that transgender ideology is hurting feminism while protecting the patriarchy. Meanwhile, they are defending the patriarchy by viewing women as these super soft, super weak, meek individuals that can't really stick up for themselves. And then they view transgender women and all guys, like all, you know, born as male individuals, as these crazy predators. And I have seen some crazy TERF rhetoric that is bred from these kinds of phrases, right? Like, for instance, I used to have a coworker who honestly believed that all men are inherently rapists, all men are inherently sexual deviant and stuff like that. And because of that, she refused to leave her daughters alone with her husband. She refused to leave her daughters alone with her son. Hi, welcome back, Robin. I just went on. The only thing you've missed is I went on a small tirade against the whole all men are X type of phrasing and how it's harmful to men in general, and how TERFs use that to harm transgender women. But yeah, anyway, this coworker that I used to work with, she honestly believed this stuff, and it was harmful to her just as much as it was harmful to guys. Because think about it, her daughter is going to be growing up thinking that her father and her brother are these sexual crazy deviants that are just, you know, one bad day away from raping her and doing other terrible stuff to women. She's never going to be able to really have a trusting relationship with any boyfriend she has if she's attracted to men. You know, she's going to have a lot of this other stuff wrong with her. And that's terrible. She shouldn't have to worry about that, you know? And if you honestly think that your husband is going to rape your daughter if you don't, you know, keep her away from him, you should not be with that man. Period. You should have gotten a divorce. You should have left already. You know, that is dangerous. I just noticed that my voice reverted, so now I'm going to try and go back to this one because I was talking with this one and it sucks. Hello, I am your radio announcer. It's nice to meet you. I hate this voice. Okay, so, yes, TERF ideology does hurt women. It is very anti-feminist and it feeds into the patriarchy because it allows us to divide people into boxes without holding men accountable. And that's stupid. Very stupid. And sex worker exclusionary radical feminism is very, very closely tied with TERFs. Basically, SWERFs believe that any and all sex work is harmful to women. Never mind that it can totally be voluntary, and that for some individuals, they actually prefer it over other kinds of work. I got into a small argument with a SWERF on Reddit a while back, and part of my thing was she was constantly asserting things that I didn't believe, claiming that I did believe them. So personally, my beliefs on it is that we do need better laws to protect sex workers, that anyone who is being unwillingly put into sex work needs to be rescued, that there need to be better laws in place so that those who were being exploited can get proper compensation, proper care, and proper rehabilitation afterwards, especially for those who are being trafficked. And in addition to that, um, we need to destigmatize sex work in general. Because just because you go into sex work doesn't make you less of a person. It doesn't make you bad. It's just sex. There's nothing weird or wrong about it. It's natural. Everyone does it. But sex work feeds directly into the patriarchy because as it is, sex work is one of the few lines where women have a lot of control so long as they're allowed to have it. But men and the patriarchy have to constantly fight tooth and nail to try and keep it under control, and one of the easiest way to keep it under control is to demonize it and to dehumanize it. And SWERFs do that very well. The crux of her argument was that she wants a utopia where men are not the sole class in charge and no women is ever put into a position where they need to resort to sex work in order to keep themselves fed. And it's like, that's fine and all, but the thing is, what about those that enjoy it? What about those that want to do it? Because I have met women like that. I'm not going to talk about the men that I met that are, into sex work, that like doing it, but I have met women that enjoy that line of work. What about them? Her response was that the only reason they would enjoy it is because of mental deficiencies. Like, oh, they were abused as a kid and now they're doing this to get acceptance. And it's like, no, that's infantilizing. That is taking away their agency. Also, so what? They're adults. They are, they've gone to therapy, they've received, all this other stuff. Why are they not allowed to have control over their body? Why are they not allowed to control their life? If they want to do this, it's consensual, they should be allowed to, period, full stop. Everyone should have autonomy over their body. Everything else considered, everything else thrown out the window, your body is your prison so long as you are alive. And as such, you should have full and complete control over it, how you present it, and everything else. The only time I think that shouldn't be the case is whenever you are using your body to injure someone else's. As a YouTuber that I watch puts it, your right to swing your fists ends at my nose. You can swing your fists as much as you want, but as soon as it comes anywhere close to hitting me, you don't get to do that anymore. Because you don't get to hurt my body with yours. So, yeah. So, now that I got the general groundwork, let's talk about why these ideologies exist. So, the reason I brought up Nazism at first, and how I used to be a Nazi, is because I remember what made me go so deep into that, aside from the fact that I was raised into it, the fact that I was taught a lot of these disgusting ideas, like that black people are supposed to be under me and are supposed to serve the white man, and all this other stuff, which, by the way, just completely stupid, okay? Like, completely stupid. I don't believe any of this anymore. It is just all complete trash. It was fear. I was afraid. I was taught from a young age to be afraid of things. I was put into a position where um, I had to constantly validate my existence and prove that I was worthy of something. And so, whenever I was a Nazi, the way that I was taught to view this was that these other individuals were both a lot stronger than me and a lot weaker than me. I was taught, oh, I'm great because I'm superior to them, but I also constantly have to try and put them down and all this other stuff because at any minute they could be greater than me, and I can't allow that because it would infringe upon my beliefs. And it was stupid. It was fear. And that's where a lot of their gatekeeping comes from. Now, for TERFs, SWERFs, and transmedicalists, it's not quite the same because, it's not involving race, it's involving sexuality, gender identity, and other things. But it's still a sense of fear. For transmedicalists, I think I understand it significantly more. Um, that's a long, long road. Like, I had a end-of-life crisis at age, 12, 13-ish. I worked on getting out of it. And then I met Abby, and he called me out on a lot of stuff and was like, wow, this is really stupid that you believe that. You're very stupid for believing this. Short version. I got into philosophy. I learned how to question things. I learned how to see things in a long-term implication style manner. And I learned how to put things in relative perspective to everything else going on around me and do pure evidence-based things. I went hard into actual facts and logic, not, reactionary facts and logic like Ben Shapiro and whatnot. It caused me to throw my whole world into question. My religious beliefs, my ideas about myself, all this other stuff. I realized that I am basically nothing but a handful of various fears and insecurities. I had a mental breakdown where I went into a end-of-life crisis, as the psychologists put it, a end-of-life crisis at age 12, went into a mental facility. They basically helped me develop a personality. I had to go through psychological exercises to create a personality that I wanted to be. And so I actually got a new name whenever I came out of there because I couldn't be the old me. And now I'm changing that name again because that's my dead name. And then I met Abby. Oh, honey. I'll explain that in a second. And then I met Abby, and Abby caused me to question a lot more stuff because he's very, very smart. And I do honestly consider him to be far smarter than me in a lot of respects. And he caused me to question a lot of stuff. And thanks to his honest inquiries, I had to honestly question things. And it just kept coming up. There's no basis for this. There's no logic for this. There's no, you keep questioning things. And eventually you get to the point where you have no other option than to admit, I don't have a reason for believing this other than I'm afraid and I have to believe it in order to feel justified in doing what I'm doing. And it hurts. And I'm thankful for him. So in end-of-life crisis, basically, the way the psychologist explained it to me was I had come to terms with the fact that I have nothing, I am nothing, my entire place at that moment in my life, because I was so young, everything I believed, my entire personality, everything I did, everything I enjoyed, all of it revolved around my super racist viewpoints that I had been raised to believe by my family and my religious viewpoints, which I had also been raised to believe. So without all of that stuff, suddenly realizing that all of that was a lie, I suddenly was left without a personality, without a purpose, without a reason, without a lot of other stuff. Add on to all the abuse I had undergone at the time and how mature I was in the way that I viewed things, how pragmatic I was, I had no reason for continuing. I had no reason for doing anything. I was just kind of left there to be numb and stagnant. And yeah, I had looked back on my life and realized that none of it was worth anything. That I hadn't done anything and that I wasn't anything. And it hurt. a lot because I didn't have anything. I had to, without all of this other stuff that made me me, I had to basically sit down and think, what do I want to be, who do I want to be, and how do I want to accomplish it with the limited time I have now? And I became extremely nihilistic. And it hurt a lot. It is. No, don't worry about it, Jasmine. I'm good. I feel that I'm a better person and a rather unique individual because of it. I wouldn't change it for a thing. But basically, it is fear. So, with trans medicalists, you're trans, and that's a lot in this day and age. We're still not widely accepted in the greater world, you know, like we're illegal in a lot of countries. Excuse me for sneezing. Okay. We're still illegal in a lot of countries. There are plenty of countries that you can travel to where you'll actually get like killed and stuff. You know, I'm thinking like some places in the Middle East. I'm thinking about some places in Africa. There are still European countries where, you know, it's illegal. You can be thrown in jail or a mental institution. There are still plenty of places here in the US where, like, there's the gay panic defense and all kinds of other stuff, allowing people to kill transgender individuals with little to no repercussion. It's scary and it's terrifying. And fighting the system is hard. But looking at another individual that you don't understand, that you don't like, and saying, oh, they're not a real transgender. They're the reason that, you know, no one takes us seriously and believes us. Not institutional, you know, LGBT phobia, not institutional, all this other stuff. They're the reason. Because they're a trender. Because they're not a true trans. You know, they're a trender and no one takes them seriously. Look at them with their crazy pronouns and crazy hair and all this other stuff. They're the reason no one takes us seriously. It's fear, and it's a lot easier to have that fear tackled at something that seems easier to accomplish than it is to tackle something a lot bigger. The gay panic defense is basically okay, so let's say there is a man, okay? He goes to a bar, and this other man starts to hit on him. This first man feels threatened. He feels, you know, all this other stuff, and he thinks that this other man is going to sexually assault him because he is homosexual. Well, that individual can defend himself in whatever means necessary. It is very stupid. It doesn't make any sense. We don't hold the same standards to women that we do on that, which we should. If you're a woman and a guy is hitting on you and won't stop, won't leave you alone, all this other stuff, you should be allowed to defend yourself. But yeah, that's basically how the gay panic defense works. How it works in actuality, because that is the basics of it and how it works. But how it works in actuality is that you tend to have men that start finding out that they have a crush on. Okay, like an example. I forget the exact details, but a guy went to a bar, got flirted with another guy. They went home, started doing stuff, and then the first individual was like, oh, wait, I'm not gay. I can't do this. I don't want to do this. And ended up going into a rage and killing the man that he brought home with him. And in court, his defense was the gay panic defense, and it actually did get him a shorter sentence because of it, which is stupid. And it has been used to defend the killing of transgender women in particular, because men will go on dates with women, find out that they used to be a guy or that they haven't had the surgery yet, and then they will assault this woman because of it, saying things like, oh, you trapped me or tricked me or other stuff, and they'll get away with it. And that's one of the reasons why things like trap and reverse trap and whatnot are slurs in the transgender community. And if you ever call me a trap, I will hit you. I have a very mean left hook, and you wouldn't expect that because I write with my right hand, but I'm originally left-handed. So yeah. It is horrible, Jasmine, but thankfully we are growing into a better time. But yeah, it's terrible, it sucks, it's stupid. But it's a lot easier for these groups to tackle something they think is a lot more accomplishable. So for True Scum, it's easier to attack trans trenders than it is to attack, the system, than it is to tackle all these different laws and legislation. They view it and treat it like, oh, if I just, if we just take out these trans trenders and get people to take us seriously that way, we won't have to worry about anything because then everyone will start taking us seriously. And it's like, that's not how it works. That's not how it's going to work. They're going to divide you up. They're going to let you take out your own group. And then once that group is taken on, they're going to take out the next and the next and the next and the next. That's how fascism works. That's how these kinds of hate systems work. You can't reason with bigotry. There is no reason behind it. It's just fear. Welcome back, Quetzal. And that's how it is for TERFs and SWERFs too. With TERFs, patriarchy is ingrained in the system. It is a systemic issue that has been affecting women for multiple generations, and it is going to be a multiple generation issue. Not only is it a multiple generation issue, but it's also an issue that relies on men to help solve. So you're put in a really, really bad position where not only is it a system that has to be solved, but the class that is being helped by this system, aka men, has to work with you to help abolish it because they make up such a huge part of the population. And one of the best ways to get the system resolved is through the people that are already inside of it, helping to rip it down. And that's dangerous because you're put in a situation where it's very easy to be taken advantage of and very easy to lose. And that's horrible. And it sucks a lot, and it's scary, you know? But we're making headway, Men are being raised now by feminists that protested back in the day, that got women's rights back in the day. So there are a lot more men that agree with feminism now, and that's good. But the men that disagree with it are a lot more vocal and a lot more dangerous now because they feel like they're being attacked. Right? So, again, we're put into a situation where the same people that are being protected by the system get to use it against us. They get to wield it against women. And it's dangerous and it's scary and it can hurt us deeply. But men make up, half of the population. It's hard to fight this with only, one arm tied behind your back. And it's going to be a multi-generational fight that everyone fighting for it right now probably isn't going to see the end of it. I don't expect by the time I die that men and women are going to be completely equal. I hope we're a lot closer, but I don't think we're going to be completely equal by that time, and that is terrifying. Because what if I adopt kids? What if I do have a child and that child comes out as a young woman? I don't want to leave her in that. That's scary. I'm not going to cry on this topic Tuesday like I did last time. But that is terrifying. And so it's a lot easier to find a other group to attack. So instead of attacking the system, instead of, trying to take on this bigger threat, they attack a minority group. So they view trans women as encroaching on their space, and they view trans men as having been taken advantage of. So these are the groups that they can attack, and they can get away with it because we are still marginalized. And it makes them feel like they're succeeding. It lets them feel like they're doing something. And that's the same way I used to feel whenever I was a Nazi, and I would use things like the N-word, and I would do all this other stupid crap. I felt like I was winning. I wasn't. I was harming myself, and I was especially harming others. But I felt like I was winning. I felt like I was on top of the world, and that my place in the system was affirmed, my purpose was affirmed. And it sucked. It was terrible. It was bad. I am grateful to know some TERFs that are no longer TERFs. I am grateful to know some individuals that are no longer, anti-trans. And I'm happy to be the cause for some of them to no longer be anti-trans. So yeah. And SWERFs are, of course, the same way. It's a lot easier to attack sex workers and to, view sex workers as these poor women that are being, taken advantage of, which a lot of them are, and to lump this whole thing under one umbrella and to fight that umbrella than it is to attack the patriarchy. Because seeing sex work as this, big complex thing where some people are doing it because they want to, some people are doing it because they're forced to, some people are in the middle, you know, like for instance, a lot of people are against sex trafficking. But a lot of people don't stop to think about the fact that for some of these women that are being trafficked, they want a better life. So there are some women out there who have made deals where they will come over to a new country that they've been smuggled into and they will do prostitution in exchange for being brought over here because for them it's a much better life than what they had even with the prostitution. It's a huge issue with multiple fronts. A lot of people are being forced into it, a lot of people want to do it, a lot of people are in the middle. For a lot of people it's just another way to get a paycheck. It's a multifaceted issue, or a multi-faced issue, with a lot of different ways that it could go wrong, and it's scary, you know? But, it's not scary? Going ahead and just going with the patriarchy and saying that all sex work is evil, let's just go ahead and sweep it all under the rug. Because it's always gonna happen until we get to the state where we're a perfect utopia, which I don't believe is ever gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I'd rather there be laws in place that make sure that it happens safely and humanely in a way that is in control of the sex worker, where that individual, male or female, gets full rights over their body and gets to determine how they are monetized and how their work is used and performed and all this other stuff, how it's distributed. I want them to have the power and control over themselves. I want every individual to have full and complete autonomy over their body and how images and work of their body is used, you know? But that's a huge, also multi-generational issue that is going to take a long time to solve. So yeah, with a lot of these groups like incels, TERFs, SWERFs, transmedicalists, Nazis, racism, bigotry in general, sexism, it is fear. My voice is messing up again. Hi, my name is Bryn. I'm going to be your attendant today. Ah, um, so yeah, for a lot of these groups, it is fear. And it is about danger. Fighting these groups is difficult. I found that for trans medicalists, the best thing to do is to approach them basically with an open hand. Whenever I receive messages from trans medicalists now, as long as it's not outright threats, especially if they come to me in the guise of caring about me, then I'll extend that hand out and I'll care about them. I'll be like, have you eaten today? Have you drunk? Have you taken care of yourself? You know, all this other stuff. I'll reach out to them whenever they're dysphoric. I'll do all this other stuff. And I'll force them to humanize me through humanizing them. And I've actually had a few transmedicalists stop being transmedicalists because of that. Always, however, prioritize yourself, okay? You are not responsible for any other individual's stupidity. Like if I went back in time and I went to go fight in World War II, I would definitely shoot a Nazi. That Nazi is an individual, they are a human being, they had a childhood, love, fear, hatred, they had all this other stuff. They are a legit, complete, and total human being. They may have later in life changed, become a better person. They and I even could have been friends if they had changed. Oh well. Rip. You gotta take care of yourself in the moment sometimes, and sometimes you gotta take care of everyone else in the moment too. So, if you do interact with a TERF, a SWERF, a transmedicalist, a racist, a sexist, any kind of bigot, always prioritize your own safety, okay? You don't have to interact with them. It's not on you to save someone. It's not on you to try and force someone into a better life or to let go of their bigotry. That's on them. They're responsible for it. Especially if they're an adult. They've made their own decisions, you know? And that's something I'm having to reckon with. My accent almost came out. That's something I'm having to reckon with. That is something that I'm having to reckon with because I have to live with the fact that I made those decisions even though I was a kid. And there is still fallout from those decisions I'm having to live with today. It happens. I take responsibility for it. I'm leaning into it. I'm taking responsibility for it. I'm using it to grow into a better person. That's all I can do, and that's all I'm going to do. Because I'm not going to let it decide who I am, and I'm not going to let it be a negative thing in my life when I could use it as something positive. I am better than that, and I am worth more than that. But yeah, if these individuals approach you, and you decide not to just go ahead and block them, not to just go ahead and be like, whatever, bye, which I would definitely recommend you doing, especially if you're young. Just question their things. Lead it back to the source. Don't be outright hostile. Don't be like, oh, these views are stupid. Why would you believe that? Be like, okay, where's your evidence? Okay, where's the evidence for that? Okay, this isn't empirical. Where's the empirical evidence? Can you prove this to me? You know, just constantly keep knocking that point out. Eventually, you're going to get to the point where they have to admit the only reason they believe a thing is because of their own bias, their own, you know, issues, their own bigotry. And it hurts to realize that, and they're going to get defensive. And they may get worse. They may get violent. There is a man. I don't know his name. He is a person of color, and he has spent a large portion of his life getting to know Ku Klux Klan members and helping them leave that. And he's actually built a collection of KKK robes and memorabilia that has been given to him by individuals who left the KKK because of him. I would definitely look him up and see how he's doing that. I'll put some links to that down in my server. He is a great individual. Definitely someone I want to emulate. I would love to meet him one day. So, yeah. I don't script any of these videos. I'm never going to script my Topic Tuesdays. I'm just going to talk the entire time. Just, you know, stream of consciousness. Does anyone have any questions, any comments, anything like that? Okay. Well, this one was kind of a deep one. I did go on to a bit of a tangent there in the middle about, like, not all men. I want to go ahead and apologize for that. I know that part of basically it was just stream of consciousness, and I know that how part of that rambling can come across. If anyone wants to talk to me about that, please feel free. I'm still growing as a person. I still got a lot of issues. I still got a lot of learning and growing I need to do, and I really look forward to it. What I will say to anyone watching this, however, is, oof, is my audio not working? Is everything okay? Can you hear me now? Okay. What I will say is, that's adorable. I love that, Mara. Um, what I will say though is, don't be afraid to question. Never be afraid of knowledge. An example I'd like to use is that I still don't understand and I don't get gender fluidity and neo-genders. They don't make any sense to me whatsoever. But that doesn't mean anything. Period. Like, I also don't understand rocket science, and it doesn't mean that we didn't get to the moon. Just because I don't understand something doesn't mean it's not real. And I actively try to reach out to people that are neo-gender and all this other stuff. That way I can learn from them and ask them stuff and, grow as a person. Because whenever there's something I don't understand, I put it through the same rigorous testing that I do with just about everything. Okay? So my mindset on that was, well, is neogender really a gender? Well, yeah. I mean, it may not be a sex, but like, it's definitely a gender because a gender is a form of expression. So it can totally and validly be one of those. So it's just something new, something I don't understand yet. Well, with the way gender expression is and the way clothing and all this other thing is, everything has to fall within a binary. But does it though? And even if it does, why should it have to stay that way? Why don't we break that mold? Why don't we do something better, something new? For all we know, there could be something a lot greater out there than this stupid binary system, right? So there's no reason for me to oppose it. It's not hurting anyone. It's not messing with anyone. In fact, there's plenty of evidence that I have found firsthand from the people I've interacted with that it's helping people. So there's no reason for me to hate it. There's no reason for me to go against it. There's no reason for me to fight it. I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me. But I'm not going to be afraid of it, and I'm not going to try and fight it because there's no reason to. So I would definitely like to encourage all individuals who are faced with something that they don't understand, something that doesn't make any sense to them, to please question it, and then to approach it with the same compassion and love that you would for anything that you do understand and like. Because that'll help keep you from being put down a rabbit hole. That's one of the ways I got out of the alt-right pipeline. That's one of the ways I stopped being a Nazi, was I started honestly questioning things, and I found that a lot of the things I was afraid of, there is no reason to be afraid of. A lot of the things that scared me and terrified me, there is no reason for me to be. I had been taught that my place in the world was dictated by the Bible, and my grandpa had warped that to be that the Bible preached that the white man should be in charge and all this other stupid stuff, right? And I was constantly afraid of being usurped, of having my worth removed and all this other stuff. But the thing is, whenever I stopped being afraid of that, it wasn't because I was suddenly assured of my place in the world. It wasn't because I was suddenly like, yes, I have this place and this worth no matter what because something stupid. It wasn't that. It was the fact that I started actually talking to and getting to know non-white individuals, and I started seeing them as people, and I started having things in common with them. I was like, hey, crap, I do that same thing with my food. Hey, I have the same view on this TV show. Hey, I also like this video game, and you're really good at it. Thank you for helping me with it, you know? It was the small things. And over time, I stopped being afraid and I started being curious. And I started seeing myself in them and I started seeing them in me. And that's a powerful thing. So, yeah, question things, get to know people, ask them questions. You'd be pretty surprised at how much you have in common with people you didn't think you had anything in common with. But definitely think about the large long-term implications of things, because I find that that will also help a lot. Okay, just more stream of consciousness. At this point, I'm just rambling, and I don't think I have anywhere else to go, like, with this topic. So, I'm gonna sign off in about 5 minutes, unless someone has anything they'd like to ask or talk about. So, yeah, gonna sip my coffee and just talk about random stuff. I am not going to sip my coffee, as my coffee is gone. I have drunk it all. So I messed up, or well, we messed up dyeing my hair, and I'm gonna have the roots retouched, and that's gonna be awesome and fun. No problem, Marith. I'm happy that it was entertaining. I'm happy that the stream of consciousness isn't too rambly and wibbly wobbly. Crap, do non-Arkansans say wibbly wobbly? Or is that just a River Valley thing? No. I've seen it in the Doctor Who fandom, wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. So, yeah. Fun times. Anyone have any ideas for what I should cover for next topic Tuesday? Squeak. Aw, you can't hear my chair squeak. Rip. Shame. I'm still practicing my voice. I need weird noises. This is the voice that I'm going for. I think that this voice sounds very feminine, although it does make me sound like a valley girl. And in addition to that, I can see how this voice could also be kind of annoying, so it is what it is, I guess. Okay. I think for my next week's stream, I'll probably do something about. Let's see. Crap, I don't have any ideas. I'm very stupid in the morning. I mean, I didn't just wake up, but like, I'm just now waking up mentally, so yeah, fun times. Um, I'm gonna be in the server doing some voice work if anyone wants to join in there. Basically, I'm just gonna be talking about how I feminized my voice and the struggles and difficulties with that. Ooh, that could be a good stream. The struggles and difficulties with transition and the dangers of comparing your transition to someone else's. Because I know I'm only 8 months into my transition, but I find myself constantly comparing myself to other trans women and being like, I'm nowhere near as far along as they are. I'm not doing as good as they are. Am I really trans? Am I really all this other stuff? Am I doing okay? And that's harmful to myself and to others, of course. Awesome. So we have a topic for next topic Tuesday. Fun times. A heads up, by the way, I will not be streaming or active from the 9th of July until the 16th of July. I will be in South Carolina. My brother, who is a very far-right individual, has made progress recently. He and I haven't talked in years, like years, and he has made progress. He surprisingly is one of the more accepting individuals in my family whenever it comes to my transition. He actually has used my name and pronouns and defended me to other people and being like, hey, you're going to respect her or else, even though I was not present and he didn't have to defend me, and it only hurt him to defend me. So yeah, even though he is far right and I don't agree with any of his views, he and his family are going to South Carolina. So I will be joining them on that trip, and hopefully things will go well, and I'm hoping that I can have a good influence at the very least on his kids, and hopefully I can have a good influence on him. And if not, he's an adult, he's responsible for his own actions. Oh well, I can at least try and be a good aunt for his kids and try and help them not be that. So yeah, I love you all. You're amazing. Please make sure to eat and drink and get plenty of rest. To anyone who saw this stream, if you would like to comment on it or, have a one-on-one chat about it, please let me know and I'll arrange that. Starting next week before I leave, I am actually going to do my first, not response video. Basically I'm gonna watch a reaction video. I'm gonna watch a PragerU video on stream and I'm gonna be pausing it throughout the video. That way I can react to it, talk about it, be like, oh hey, this is bullcrap. This makes no sense, this is stupid. Here's the long-term implications for this. I know that a lot of individuals have been asking for that, but I've been putting it off for various reasons. So yeah. And yeah, I think I finally got everything sorted out, because one of my big fears was whether or not it would get my Twitch channel messed up or my YouTube channel messed up, because I do upload my videos from Twitch onto my YouTube. And I have been getting copyright strikes on my YouTube videos for some reason. So, yeah, I think it may be trolling, honestly, but it is what it is. So that's fun. The amount of, like, death threats and everything I'm getting in my DMs has decreased significantly, so hopefully I'm changing some minds and stuff like that. And I haven't gotten any not safe for life stuff in a while, so poggers. Cool. Jasmine, I love you too. You're an amazing little sister. I'm so grateful and thank you. Blah, 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 blah. I'm so thankful for you. You're really great. I'm happy that you've been helping me with technology because I am a very stupid boomer a lot of the time. Yeah, I'm grateful for all of you. I'm proud of each of you. Jazzberry, you got this, okay? Oh, I can be stupid. You've seen me be stupid on the server. And I love you too. Okay. I love each of you. You're all amazing, and you are all valid and deserving of love, respect, and patience. Goodbye.